Well, hello, this is the Aphidlip Hodgepodge show. I am your host, Aphidlip. I guess we'll start off with me. My name's Aphidlip, spelled Aphidlip, so you don't have a hard time finding me over the interwebs. Aphidlip, I don't know why so many people have such a hard time with it. It's the lip of an aphid. What's so hard to understand? But anyway, that's my name. I'm sticking to it, and I'll be your host. I called this show Hodgepodge because, well, it keeps me from being hogtied to doing one thing or another. So basically, I can do whatever the heck I want to do. I can do reviews or live shows, or we'll just have a lot of fun with this show. I used to host a live show on Live Leak. That show hasn't been around for a while, so we can't host on Live Leak anymore. And I was given this opportunity to host this radio show, so I thought, what the heck, why not? Had a lot of fun with that, so here we go. This week I have George. George is a good friend of mine I've known for years, and we had a lot of fun filming this and recording this the other day, and it's so long it's a two-parter, so not only just this inaugural broadcast of the Aphidlip Hodgepodge show, it'll be the second one as well. And that reminds me, if you want to be part of the Aphidlip Hodgepodge show, you don't even have to say it. You can just send me a tweet, send me an email, send me a message on YouTube. You can find me on YouTube. I'll actually upload this show to YouTube, so you can listen to it as many times as you want if you didn't catch the live broadcast. And speaking of, this will be broadcast on the triggerwarning.tv radio station, so go over to triggerwarning.tv and check out everything else there is to be on that site, and click the radio show part, and you can hear me do this with George this week. Speaking of triggerwarning.tv, it's worth a look-see over there, and why not check out altfeed.org, a new website that's basically devoted to free speech and saying and doing whatever the hell you want to do. Here on that. Altfeed.org. It's got a social platform type site where you can say what you want to say, post blogs, do just about whatever you want to do as long as you don't kill people. I think you're okay. Trigger Warning is a part of a multi-worldly collaboration that they host a podcast on most Tuesdays. Hayden Hewitt and Graham Booth. And then they also host the big Trigger Warning show on Thursday nights. Make sure to check that out. Check your local listings for that. Usually their shows, I believe, are 10 p.m. UK time. I think UK is only so small. They only got one time zone. Poor them. And then if you got nothing to do in this days of COVID lockdown, go check out Smoke Steve and his pub. That's on the Trigger Warning YouTube channel and Twitch, I believe. You can call in and hang out and drink some beer and do whatever you want to do, and hang out with a bunch of other losers that got nothing else to do. Speaking of drinking beer, I know I got mine right here. I always say my stuff's so much more enjoyable if you got a tall, cold one to sip down. With each sip, it gets more and more enjoyable. I guarantee you that. So if you want to join the show, please feel free. Contact me on the Twitter. That's the Twitter. Contact me on the YouTube. Aphidlip, both platforms. Get a hold of me and do what George did. Sit down here and drink a beer. Well, George didn't drink a beer because he's on the wagon, but I sure drank a beer. Sit down with me and discuss current topics or why I'm so smart. So without further ado, let's get on to this week's amazing interview I did with George, and we discussed such topics as peeing in your backyard, going back to school with COVID, and COVID in general. So it's a full hour of COVID if you're excited about that. Who isn't? And that's it. Here we go. So George, I was wondering, have you uh, have you heard of quarantining?
Quarantining. I've heard of. I
No,
think so.
quarantining, like a baseball team, team, like a team.
No, what's
Well,
quarantining?
quarantining is when you pick somebody else, that you're gonna, like say it's your neighbor, your best friend, or whatever, somebody that you're gonna pick to help yourself get through this pandemic that we're going through right now.
Oh, I see.
So do you gotta you can hug them, and give them a back massage, and know that everything's going to be all right because you got that one person that you're quarantining. But they might not be in your house, you might not know what they're doing. They might have contact with a lot of people.
No, I don't have a quarantine situation because if I did, I think I'd be giving people the Rona, and so I don't have like the team. I feel like if I have a team that kind of goes against, you know, I mean, I talk to people on the phone, but
No, that's not the same. You need
we're
to
talking about
you need
embracing.
to physically, or
Yeah.
you could pass a doobie to them,
Oh,
or
yeah,
you
yeah.
can
Share a
you
needle.
guys can, yeah, share a
Yeah,
needle. You guys can have your own buffet between just the
yeah.
two of you. So you don't you don't have a quarantine mate, I guess it would be called.
No, I don't.
Well, I
I
didn't
don't.
know about this quarantining, and then this neighborhood friend that my wife is talks to on and off. She has she has some neighbors that, not her herself, but her neighbor next to her, and then they live in a court, and the neighbor across the street. They're quarantining, and they ended up all getting the Rona.
No
So
way.
yeah, so the quarantining might not be as good. You're only as strong as your weakest link, I think they say.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so whichever one of them is just like fuck it whenever they go out
Right.
and go to the yeah,
Yeah, it's
they're
over.
going to get it to everybody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the beginning of this, when because we had our life here. You guys had a little bit of a life, but we had our life here, and I have some friends, close friends that live in New York, and they obviously had a completely separate life going on down there in New York. Anyway, at the beginning, it was when they were having their shitstorm, and we were like, the flowers were blooming and everything was fine. We were all paranoid, and like the streets were completely empty back then.
Yeah.
No stores were open. There was a handful of like fast food places that you could go to. They were all masked up and everything. Now our numbers are, closer to what New York was, and the streets are packed. Every store is open, and it's like, it's just bizarre to me seeing the reactions of the general public and what steps they took at the beginning of this, and how lax they are now, when you know statistically they are so much in deeper shit than they were back then. But that's just the way things go, I guess.
Right. Yeah, no, I've noticed the same thing here. There's uh if you go anywhere on the weekend and stuff like that where it used to be completely shut down. There's people all over the place now. Nobody's wearing masks. And I live in California, so out here, living near the beach and stuff like that. I mean, I live near Huntington Beach area. Like, people come out here and it's a complete free for all, and it's still going on. So, yeah, pretty surprising to see, especially considering how bad the numbers are right now and all that. But
Now, as you know, I was at Huntington Beach just a few years ago, and is the have the younger girls, have they put on longer pants since then because of the Rona, or do they still have the cut off shorts and the really tight shorts that just really are hugging that ass crack?
well, I mean, I haven't actually gone down there, but I would
Oh,
imagine that they are probably still wearing the usual attire.
right.
And I mean, like, yeah, it's well, okay. So what I have seen helicopter footage of protests at Huntington Beach of all places,
Oh,
and
really?
yeah, and so like,
They're
yeah,
upset with the van store down there.
yeah, they're hanging out. No, seriously, they're hanging out in front of the van store, and there's like 300 or 400 people that are protesting, restrictions because of the coronavirus. So,
Oh,
that's going on, and they dress in all sorts of ways. Some very creative, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I was amazed at I tried to, hide my eyes because some of those girls were, I realized after, I started sweating that they were like 12, 13 years old. Obviously, their parents aren't as strict as the ones we had around here. And sometimes you don't know that walking up on a girl. You think maybe she's just kind of short. And you're like, Jesus Christ, look at that. And then you're in for the surprise of your life when you actually realize what's really going on.
Yeah,
So,
then Chris Hansen's like, "So why don't you have a seat?" And he pulls
yeah,
up a
exactly.
chair, and you're like, "Yo, I go to prison now?"
All
Like,
right,
Jesus
right.
Christ! I mean,
I
dress
mean,
your kid like a freaking kid. I
I
don't know.
know things are different over there, but that's all right. That's all right. Okay, so I know you don't have kids, George, but I'm sure you've paid attention to the whole school debate that's kind of going on right now. Do you have any strong feelings on if you had, let's say you had a kid, would you feel safe with sending them and would you think that let's say for argument's sake 8-year-old would be safe and keep his mask securely on the whole day, or would you be concerned about him and possibly the elderly teacher that's walking him to the bathroom?
Well, I think that like what comes to mind for me is that we have to do the best we can. We can't just freaking just say forget it
Right.
and just have a free for all. And we can't. I feel like just saying, well, we're just not going to have school ever again, and for as long as this goes on, all these people can't work because they have to take care of their kids.
Right.
Or they have to pay for a babysitter 24/7, and that would cost a fortune. So I don't know. I feel like they've got to make some adjustments to the way that we do school. Like, I mean, we might have to rotate kids in and out, add an extra day or two to the school week, and
Right.
find some ways that parents get that time to still be able to work, their kids still get educated, and we can, like, you got these giant fields and stuff, and that are normally used for PE. You might have to freaking tent some of that stuff off and make temporary classes or something. But you know,
Right.
it seems like yeah. Go ahead.
It is, this is a worldwide pandemic, so we have to be expected to make some sacrifices.
Right.
When I was a kid, I can't say I dwelled on what life would be like in a worldwide pandemic, but the thoughts that I did have, it was pretty much way more apocalyptic than the reality of what we're living through right now. I mean, I think you understand what I'm saying. I mean,
Oh yeah.
it doesn't seem that bad. I mean, for me at least, I have a wife and a kid and a decent sized backyard. So, I mean, I'm just spending time having more fun with my family right now. I understand for everybody it's not the same, but the school, back to the school situation. Yeah, it's tough. I got 11-year-old boy, and he's going to middle school for the first time. It's a messed up thing right now. We chose not to send him, and we are under the assumption, me and my wife, thank God we're on the same page too, because if you were stuck in a situation like this with a family situation where you just like, you're stuck at home and you have to spend night and day with somebody that you can't stand and a kid that's a brat and everything. But luckily, me and my wife on most things see eye to eye on most things, and we're kind of under the assumption that okay, like worst case scenario, would it be so bad if the kid was now just remove the whole financial of the faculty or whatever getting their pay or whatever, but which I think that is guaranteed anyway. If we didn't have school whatsoever, I think they'd still get paid. But anyway, the if the let's say worst case scenario and we just shut down, no virtual, no nothing for a year. I mean, I got friends that were held back a year, so basically that is the equivalent of what happened to them. And kids are they rebound so quickly, and they learn and everything so much better than us old people do. That I mean, do you think that would be a lifelong struggle that the kid would suffer if 1 year out of his life right now was taken away? Or do you think that they would make up for that and, be fine, really, in a
Right.
year or two?
Well, like, I mean, look, I don't even know if that's even as far as I know, either we're doing it remotely, education, or we're not doing it remotely. We're
Right.
doing it on site.
I
So,
that true, but I'm just saying, worst case scenario. I mean, everybody acts like like, oh, these kids have to get back in school. It's so important to which I'm not saying it's not. But I mean, they're fucking kids. We're all making sacrifices. We're all living through a worldwide pandemic right now.
yeah,
So, I mean, to think that a kid isn't going to suffer a little bit, I mean, the way I look at it, and obviously I'm not saying that that's a reality. I'm just looking at the worst case scenario to play devil's advocate here. But the way I look at it, and thank God the way my wife looks at it, if you have the capabilities like we do, where I'm self-employed and my wife is usually with me, which sucks because I got to do everything on my own right now. But anyway, she we have the means for her to stay home, work from home, and watch the kid. So, with that said, I think if the more people that are in that situation, because it's not like it's not like I'm the only one. There's so many people right now that they're able to work from home or whatever, or the husband works at night and the wife works in the daytime, whatever. If there's any way, shape, or form, if they can do it, I think that it's their obligation to for their kid to go to school remotely and keep that space for the kids that have to go there because that's their one meal they get a day because mom and dad have an empty refrigerator at home, or because mom and dad both work and it's just not feasible to have a babysitter come over because life sucks right now. And I think that anybody that can should take that responsibility and have their kids stay home and for now at least, and give that space, because there's these standards that the CDC put out for these guidelines for these schools to operate is completely unrealistic. And so that I don't know, you know that's just my opinion on the whole school thing as far as that goes.
yeah, I don't disagree with you. I do think that the expectations are, would be really hard to meet to do it traditionally. I do think they might be able to come up with some ways to alleviate the pressure that is on parents that could help. And maybe parents are going to have to. I think employers are going to have to be a little bit more
Right.
flexible too,
Right.
and everybody's going to have to kind of work together to make it so that let's see how we can make this work with our time. Um, and I hope that kind of more stuff like that starts to happen. Although I will also say that, like the original idea about, hey, what if they lose a year? I mean, I don't know, man. I'm not a pediatrician or whatever. Like, I mean, I don't know. But what I do know is that in some states, I mean, your education, it's the law says that these kids have to be in school, and it's not even optional. It's they're required by law. It's compulsory education, and in some states they have a right to an education per the state constitution. So like you couldn't even really, I mean, unless you were to amend that or to make some major changes. I guess maybe a governor's executive order might be able to do some of it. But yeah, man, I think they're going to keep them in school. They're going to come up with some kind of way to do it.
You know what? I gotta take a leak. So this would be a
Okay.
perfect time while I lose my train of thought. Yeah, pissing outside, you know, is just you know, it's one of the best gifts of owning your own home. I gotta admit. I'll tell you the a couple, like, what was it, about a week or two ago, I walked outside and it was like kind of sundown and I started pissing outside, and I have to strategically piss where depending on what time of day it is. When I'm outside, I gotta hide myself behind objects that are growing in my backyard or my ramp, so that's the go-to if they're outside. And I know this is so
No, I totally am all about it, man. I mean, when I had a yard, I would definitely take advantage of that. There's something really nice about it. There's a lot of being free that it has nothing to do with the flag or the traditions. It's
right.
just about being able to pee where you choose on your property.
Right.
And
I agree. So, Anyway, so during the daytime, if somebody's out, because I got a pretty decent sized backyard, so
Yeah,
nobody's really gonna probably see me, but I still don't want the chance that a glance in the wrong direction is gonna be like, oh, what's he doing over there?
yeah. He's
So
not watering his flowers. He's yeah.
so the go-to is my ramp because the back of my skateboard ramp, has got a deck on it, and I'm sure you've seen a skateboard ramp before,
Yeah.
and you can duck down and hide
Oh
behind it,
yeah.
but it backs up to the woods, so there's no catching on any side. But this right out my back door, if I want to, get a quick one, and it's still light out, then I go over there because it's between my house and my neighbor's house. But he's never outside. But the other day I was out there, and he ended up taking his garbage to the like his rolling it down the driveway, and I was like, oh shit. So, but anyway, earlier tonight, not the piss I just went and took, but earlier tonight, it was still a little bit light out, and I noticed there was something in the air, like a bug, and I was like, oh, you're at the wrong place at the wrong time, buddy. So I started nailing him, and then he bounced up and down, and I realized it was a spider in a web, and I felt somewhat guilty, because I was pissing on a spider that had no place to go. But anyway, I used to piss on we got one because my basement is a walkout basement, and we also have we got like a rough-in for a fireplace that was never built if we finish our basement. But next to that, there's another window, like not the sliding glass door, but there's like a window on the other side of where the fireplace is supposed to be. And I used to piss right there by the base of that window because I thought that if anybody ever peeked into my window and was, trying to like, what do they call that when somebody like looks peeping Tom, if I had a peeping Tom,
Oh
and
yeah.
I would get the last laugh because he was standing in my piss, So that's
Yeah. Oh yeah. If anybody ever tried to make entry to your window like you're the fucking Branch Davidian compound,
right
they're probably gonna slip on
on my piss.
some of your urine.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, okay, so the Betsy. Okay, so I watched that Betsy DeVos. Are you a fan of her? She's the I don't know what she is, like the Secretary of Education or whatever the hell she is. Her
Yeah.
brother, ironically, her brother is the leader of that security force that used to be in I don't maybe they still are,
Oh,
like
Blackwater,
yeah, yeah, like her brother is the Blackwater, the head
or
of
whatever
the
they call it
Blackwater.
now.
Yeah, so
Oh wow,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
crazy.
I could go into a whole thing about that
That's
dude.
weird,
Yeah,
man.
it is weird, but yeah, it's
Huh.
that's the world we live in right now.
Wonder what
But
their
anyway,
family parties are
right,
like.
exactly. So anyway, I saw her interviewed, and she kept getting pushed, about the different, how the schools were going to be able to, make this all work and everything. And her answer just to everything was, we need to get our kids in school. That was it. It was just every time she was pressed, or how are we going to do this, or how are we going to do that? It was just we need to get our kids in school. The kids need to get in school. And I agree. It's not like I don't think that that we shouldn't have our kids in school anymore, and but I think that we don't know enough about I mean, who knows what to believe? I mean, we're getting told one thing one day and another thing another day, and it all comes down to what they know at that time, or what they want to hide to keep us from using up all the mask, or whatever. So I get why there's so much weird stuff going around, or why you don't want to believe anything right now. But I still think that like I said, if you need to if you have the capabilities, then you should try to it's your responsibility, and do your part to keep the numbers lower in this, because I think that, like, an average school, let's say for argument's sake, is 30 kids. Like, if we could cut that down in half and have 15 kids, then they could have a productive school year, and then we can learn virtually for a year, and try hopefully do, because I got to tell you, my kid did the virtual thing at the end of last school year, and it was a train wreck. I mean, there was no there was like 5% of learning that he was learning before being learned, when he was there, because it was it was like an hour every other day or 2 days a week or something. It was ridiculous. So hopefully
Right.
they figured out a better way to address that, and we don't go through that whole thing again.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, they should do like a hybrid kind of a thing. I mean, like I went through grad school recently in part during this pandemic, and well, regardless of that, I know that there have been programs where they've integrated the two. So you would go in certain days for in-person type instruction, and other days it would be remote.
Right.
And to me, that's a way you could cut down the size of those classes and probably, yeah, probably mix it up so the kids are going a few days in person and a few days online. And I don't know, something like that, that at least frees up the parents so they can get back to work, and everybody's got to kind of work together, and people's businesses have to work with them. Like, I don't know, it's this all or nothing kind of thinking and answers that we're getting. And her response is an all or nothing answer. It's just, well, we just need to get our kids back to school. It's like,
Yeah.
okay.
Right.
I mean, come on.
Well, I mean, obviously I'm biased because you know my opinions on this administration, but it does seem like the he thinks his reelection bid is going to pan out a little bit better if he can get the kids in school and life gets somewhat back to normal. But this we got these summer schools here where the kids flooded these summer schools in the summer, and they were supposed to be safe and everything, and they did their best to like what they're going to do at the school. There's no difference really, and they got decimated by COVID. So
Fuck.
I don't see why. And then I hear the kids don't transmit, which I don't believe. I
They
think
don't.
that
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I think that they carry it. Whether they
Yeah.
get affected it is bad or not. But I think that
Dude,
they can get it and come home and bring it to us or bring it to my mom. That
hell
we're
yeah, they could.
right,
They found freaking cats that have had it,
right,
for Christ's sakes. I mean,
exactly.
yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, if you're a human being, it, it, it's just that we're not seeing kids normally get really sick by it. They might not know they even have it, but shit, man, there are some kids that have gotten it where they've been the unlucky one,
right.
and it's like,
Or
dude,
what age is it that they're saying that the kids aren't responsible? Because I mean, like these high school kids, they're basically adults. So like do you, like when they use that excuse, oh, the kids don't transmit it. Are they talking about kids that are over 13? Because I don't think they are. Because I mean, those are adults. I don't see why it would make any difference with that they can't carry it and transfer it to somebody else. And
right?
I just feel so sorry for like the elderly teachers because I mean, what the hell, I mean, they got to be scared. You hear these stories about them making these wills and stuff before they go back, and there's like the dropout rate is ridiculous for these teachers that are, facing a all or nothing type of a deal. So, it's scary, man. And then I listen to a lot of, I listen to, my go-to, which I still feel like is the most reliable source, as far as like radio is NPR. But you can have that argument that they're biased or whatever. But I still think that until you can prove to me that they they interject their opinion more than any other news source, then I'll listen to what you have to say. But they don't.
Yeah.
So to me, whether they lean one way or another is still it's going to be your most pure source. But I do listen to well, for one, it seems like I don't know about out there, but here there really is no like left-leaning radio station. Like you can't if you're driving in your car, you can't you know, you can't like turn on some liberal radio. You can turn on many, conservative. Maybe it's because I live here in Missouri, which is a more conservative state. But anyway, regardless, I do listen to the conservative thing, and they had this in the morning. They got this Brian Kilmeade, this guy. I don't know if you heard of this guy. He's the in the morning show on Fox News. They got the Fox and Friends. I'm sure you've heard about that, where they the excuse me, got the Rona cough.
It's the
By
Rona.
the way, when I went and pissed outside. I came back in. I did not wash my hands, but I was wearing a mask the whole time. So just so you feel okay. Um,
God.
but anyway, the Fox and Friends, the morning show. The one guy is Brian Kilmeade, and he instantly pretty much ends that show and does this radio show. And he wasn't on. It was last week, I believe, and it really struck me. They had this conservative chick on taking his place for the day, and she was going on and on about how these teachers praise themselves as being such essential workers and they're so important in all our kids' lives and everything, and that now they're complaining about having to go to school in this environment when the people at 7-Eleven, are still having to go to work, and the people at the grocery stores are having to still go to work, and all these other people are still having to go to work, and these teachers are basically bitching and complaining about going to work. And she was like, saying how you need to, grow up and go to church and quit being a baby. And it just really kind of struck me.
Huh.
But I've noticed that, and I try to, be as independent. I don't try to be as independent. It's just who I am. I agree with a lot of conservative views, and I agree with a lot of more liberal views. And so I can pretty much, in any conversation, piss off just about anybody. But um, I notice more and more that, like, because like I said, I watch a little conservative, a little liberal. The conservative side of things, it seems like they really, on the TV and the radio, they really, like, they attack not just a certain, politician that is, a Democrat or something. It's always the left or those crazy liberals, or they group everybody into the same group. And I don't notice that so much on, like, if you listen to CNN and MSNBC, which I'm not going to sit here and try to defend either one of them because they got their own. But, like, even, like, I guess the worst case would be like either Rachel Maddow or that guy that comes on late at night, that black guy. I can't think of his name, but anyway.
Don Lemon?
Oh yeah. Okay, either one of those. They're probably the farthest extreme. Like a Hannity would be on the conservative side, or Tucker Carlson, but they don't sit there and they go, the right or conservatives. They might pick apart a certain conservative politician, or obviously they, complain about Trump all the time. But I don't see them so much just lump the whole half of the country into one group like I notice on the conservative side of things. And maybe that's just me, but that's just from my observation that
Right.
seems to be the case.
Yeah, it's like they're more aware of that being absurd to say. I do wonder what they would say if you talk to them individually.
Oh
Like
yeah,
I
individually, yeah, but these are the people that are speaking to one side of America or another every single night. So you can
right.
see why some people get just, well, everybody seems like gets so upset one side or another right now. But Jesus Christ. But anyway,
It's
go ahead.
yeah, no, it's just, well, I just would say this issue that we're dealing with, and I understand that politics mixes up in probably everything in life to some degree, but a global pandemic, you would hope that would be an issue that we could address in a more
Right,
global way, and
right.
not break it down to individual politics and beliefs and views and paranoia and all this stuff. Just the politics. I mean, it's just like, come on. I mean, this is bigger than that.
Yeah, I mean, 9/11. We all wanted to go kill all Muzzies. You
Yeah,
know.
we were all down. We were all down, and we brought the flags out and everything.
Um, okay, so this is something that I just don't understand. Kind of trending out of the school thing, but I don't understand why we don't have some kind of standardized chart. Because obviously, if you live in, I don't know, Idaho, your reality of what life is like right now is completely different from, like, me living in St. Louis. We're like one of the hottest, like, they each night they want to label some new city as the hottest spot. Right now, I think that we're peaking as far as one of the hottest spots. We're going to get the most attention we're going to get out of this coronavirus right now. But what I don't understand is why we don't have a whole, because the United States is a huge place. When you're talking about Italy, Italy is like the size of one state, and the UK really isn't much bigger. And all these different places in Europe, they're treated differently, and we were thinking of them differently. Where all of Europe is this, I think less than the size of the United States. So I don't understand why we don't have some centralized, standardized chart that suggests, based on cases per population, the levels of reopening essential stores, restaurants, and schools, and that we can't just use that as some kind of guide to go off of, to because obviously if you're in Idaho, you can all go back to school right now, and you're not going to have the same worries and statistical risk that you're going to have here in St. Louis.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I thought that we did. I mean, I originally thought that we were working with the CDC, had some kind of a public health thing that was like, we're going to kind of generally apply this, and you would, I mean, obviously it'd be individualized to some extent to each locality, but there was these phases and these steps, right? And I don't know, but I think
It should be based on cases per like 100,000, like how they do murder stats, like cases per 100,000, or some rational, logical, list like that, where you could see if you're in a zone, like A, B, or C, or red, yellow, and green, whatever, however
yeah,
you want to lay it out. And
yeah,
then that governor could be like, well, we're going by the guideline, but there isn't. There is no, like, I mean, pretty much every governor, not not just in that aspect, but trying to supply, their rations basically, or their supplies that
right.
are running low, and they're I'm sure, with competing against other governors in other states and cities. But the whole system, if there can't just be one centralized, standardized system, I just don't understand why that's not a good idea, or why that's not being implemented.
Right. Well, I think but I mean, you know why though, I would imagine.
Well,
And I mean, and that's the politics. Excuse me. Yeah, that's the politics coming in,
right.
where of course the right has to have it be a decentralized thing, and it has to be all about private enterprise, and it has to be, can't have big government, ruining
But
everybody's
it
life.
doesn't
And
have to be a like, you have to abide by these rules, but at least it could be some kind of, you know, standardized list that we could try to go off of,
yeah,
instead of just having nothing and being like, well, you make your decisions on your own. By the way, did you see the Louis Gohmert guy? He came down with he's the guy that just came down with it yesterday. This older guy in Congress, and he was complaining about it was the mask fault because they were forcing him to wear
oh,
that mask.
I heard.
That was a riot.
Bless his heart. Yeah.
Okay. So I came down to these two things, that I think that it goes with all things in life, but really is I think really glaring right now, that you're either selfish or you're ignorant with your decisions. And what I mean by is, like, ignorant could be me, and anything I've said tonight, if I'm wrong, it's not because I'm selfish. I really try to use logic and reason for every one of my decisions. And if I am wrong, I'll admit that it's because I'm ignorant. That masks don't work. You're an ignorant person if you think masks don't work. Now, I could be ignorant for thinking that you're ignorant for that, but that still falls into the ignorant category. The numbers are cooked. You're being ignorant if you think that maybe the numbers are being cooked in some small, areas, but the whole world, and you know, if you average everything out, it's not going to be too much further than what we're being told. I don't believe. And so if you're a numbers are cooked person, if you think that the numbers are being fudged to control us or whatever, it's because you're ignorant. That everything is, all this stuff is to just control us. I'm sure you've heard that one. That
Oh yeah.
the mask the mask, it's just to make us subservient, and it's just to control us, and all this stuff isn't real. It's just to control us. If that's because you're an ignorant person. Okay, selfish. I walked into work today, and my neighbor at work, she usually, I've talked to her a little bit, not about politics so much, but it seems like, I can just you can get a feel for, like, who goes out and hunts deer on the weekend, and who, buys a Prius. You can pretty much, we've gotten to the point where, within 30 seconds you can pretty much classify somebody in one side or the other on that one. So I would put her in the Prius category. And this morning she's like, "So you gonna send your kid back to school?" And I was like, "Hell no!" And I was thinking she was gonna be on board. What they have this like screen printing business where they make shirts, and most of their business is for schools. And she's like, "Yeah," My daughter, she's a pediatrician, and she's keeping all her kids home. And I could tell she started like swaying her hips a little bit,
Oh,
getting that action going on, like,
swaying her hips, huh?
yeah, like she didn't agree with what her daughter was
Oh
saying,
my.
and she wasn't agreeing with what I was saying either. And
Oh
then
boy.
she was like, "Well, these kids need to get back in school for their own well-being, and this is going to ruin our business." And her decision was selfish, so she goes into the selfish category. Um, Okay, I have a hard time going on Facebook these days because, like, on the internet, I don't care. I could talk to people, and if they disagree with me, or if I want to, if I fight with them, or if they're a pedophile, I'll debate you. Whatever, I don't care. I'll it doesn't affect me in my life, my real life, in any way. But my on Facebook, these are like all my family and all my friends. I don't have like a, 2,000 Facebook friends. I keep it to a minimum where I just keep, and I just use it for like sharing, pictures of my family doing fun stuff or enjoying life. I don't get into I don't talk about none of this shit that we've talked about tonight. And it's because I know that that one, if they're a customer of mine, and they've been my customer for 20 years or whatever, I know that there's a chance that they might never do business with me again because of something I say on Facebook. Or if I have a family, same thing, or friends, same thing. So I just stay out of that. But today, I went on there to check things out, and
Oh boy.
I saw I saw, there's a whole crew, there's the crew that are, I don't understand that whole crew. The crew I'm talking about is the crew that they spend, 24 hours a day. Like, you can tell if you go on Facebook when they wake up in the morning, and they're hell bent on proving how, you know, masks are stupid, or they're trying to control us, or all of these things. It's the same crew, and you could have picked them before any of this happened. You could have picked, okay, who's going to be in the crew. I would have been able to tell you, pinpoint. There's some surprises. There's been a couple where I'm like, really? Wow, you're in the crew. I didn't know you were in the crew. But but for the most part, I could have told you who was going to be in the crew. And this one guy in the crew that I knew was going to be in the crew, he posted a video of this guy that went into Target, and he wore the like Batman mask, like the just that covers your eyes, and he was like trying to, he was filming himself. He had the selfie stick.
Oh yeah.
He was probably on Facebook Live at one point, and he was like, oh, he had the shit-eating grin on his face, and he had a comeback for this poor guy, this poor like teenager guy that was working at Target, had to like try to kick him out of the store, because he didn't have his mask on, and this guy was just gonna just take him to the cleaners, and he had everything prepared, what he was gonna say and everything, and they walked him out the front door, and they looked at the sticker on the front of Target, and it said face coverings. And he's like, "Oh, there you go. I got my face is covered with this mask." And he ran back inside Target. And he's like, "Call the cops. Get me out of here. Do what you have to do." And it went on for like 5 minutes. I only watched like a minute of it. But that guy is selfish. That guy is selfish. The
Yeah.
I can't breathe. The I can't breathe, and I feel sorry for this one because there's somebody I know that there's a probably good chance that they might be listening to this,
Uh,
and she falls into the I can't breathe in a mask. Um, but the I can't breathe in a mask person, and the mask is constraining, or I just can't be bothered with a mask. Those are selfish. They fall into the selfish category. So,
right. Right. Well, and about that though, like, I mean, I get that for some people it's hard to wear a mask and breathe in it, maybe depending on your mask. I get that for some people there's a small percentage of people who they freak out wearing the mask because it makes them feel, I don't know, maybe they have a traumatic history or whatever. It makes them feel
that's
trapped or
I
something.
get that. I get that. That's
Um,
rational. That's rational.
yeah, but
Or
at the
if you're
same, yeah,
claustrophobic in some way, I gotta be
yeah.
honest with you. Something I don't know if I've revealed to too many people, but I can't remember what the name of it is, but I have a fear of. I can't believe I'm admitting this, but I have a fear of cotton. I have a cotton.
Oh yeah, no, you've shared that with me
Oh,
before,
okay,
and that's
okay,
a good
okay.
one.
Yeah, I have a
Yeah,
cotton phobia where
yeah.
I can't. I have a hard time with touching things that are made out of cotton. But so like the mask thing, I can understand if you have that kind of a thing, where it's
Cotton mask.
to most people, yeah, it doesn't bother me because my fingernails aren't touching the mask. but but yeah, if you got some kind of what was it, COD? Is that compulsive order
Oh,
disorder?
oh, well,
What is it?
it's OCD,
Compulsive
but that wouldn't
OCD. There
be.
we go.
It wouldn't be like. It would be like a phobia, right?
Right.
Like somebody
Okay.
could have a
Phobia. Right.
phobia.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I get that. If you got a phobia, then I'm down with that. But if I can't breathe or something, suck it the fuck up. This is like I went back to before about this really isn't that bad. As far as being what my idea of what a pandemic was going to be like. So
And I agree, and I do think this is where what's that old saying about I can swing my fist around in the air as much as I want until it meets your face, and that's kind of how rights work. And like,
right.
yeah, so yeah, okay, I understand this is not easy for you. All right, well, here's the deal. You either have to get help so that you're able to manage wearing that mask and navigating your life that way, stay away from people, or whatever. One of those two, basically.
Right. Right. Well.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, I don't mean to.
No, that's right. Yeah, my friend lives in Florida, and she's a nurse, and she put this thing, one of the only things, because most of the stuff, I don't care what side you're on, most of the stuff like you post or share or something. I'm not a big sharer or a retweeter. I usually try to be original with most of my stuff,
Yeah.
but fine, whatever. But anyway, she told this story about her grandpa that he stormed the beach of Normandy or whatever, and he got drafted. He didn't want to go, but she was going through the whole sacrifices that he made. Well, heaven forbid that we face a war right now, because we got a lot of
God.
people that are one way or another, and they don't want to help out for the common cause right
Yeah.
now.
Right. Definitely, the selfishness has
Right.
it's at all time high. And you know what? People these days are such a bunch of fucking pussies
Yeah, yeah.
compared to what they were. Like, you think about what they call the greatest generation,
Hmm.
and the generations before that even more so.
Right.
What they had to go through, just a typical person's life, the amount of
Right.
trauma
Right.
and horrible experiences that you would have if you were lucky enough to live to be 60. I
Exactly.
mean, and people have survived, for forever like that. And now all of a sudden we've coddled our society to an extent. I feel like that it makes it so that we can't handle real problems when they present. And that's at least part of it. I'm not saying that's everything. I'm not saying we
No. No.
shouldn't care about each other, or take care of people that are sensitive or that have a history of trauma or whatever. But I don't know. There's also this is leading to a kind of selfishness and self-centeredness that is harmful.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Ben Franklin, he was a lucky motherfucker to live old enough to get wooden teeth.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? He probably had some pretty shitty stories from stuff he'd been through in his
Right,
life.
right.
I mean, Jesus, sit down with that guy and have a fucking drink of brandy and listen to his stories. You know, they're not good. It's not like, yeah, well, when I was a kid, I used to play baseball. It's like, no,
Yeah.
he probably grew up having like one book in the house, living by candlelight and eating, rancid deer meat for half the
Right.
year. Half
Tape
his brothers died.
from tapeworms.
Yeah, everybody's got fucking scarlet fever and shit.
Okay, another thing that really bothers me is the I wish everybody would just stop the BS. The only argument we have right now is do whatever it takes to save as many lives at whatever cost, or do whatever it takes to save our money at whatever loss of life. Like this whole all this other bullshit is just complete bullshit. Those are the two things that we got going on. Either we're gonna do what we can to save as many old people and what other random people will get swept up, like Herman Cain.
Oh my
or
god! Don't get on the cane train, folks.
or or we're gonna be like, just fuck it, this is gonna hurt us later on down the road, and we're gonna lose life from disparity and starvation, and so those people are just gonna have to we're gonna have to sacrifice the loss of life and try to protect them as much as possible. But the whole, this is like the flu, or that masks don't work, or any of this other bullshit, or that the elite, the elite now, George, the Mark Zuckerberg, Steve Bezos, and oh my God, the I guess I don't see too much going towards those guys, even though those guys are really the ones that are the elite in control and everything right now. But the I see a lot of the what's the Microsoft guy, the Bill Gates.
Gates,
He's old enough, I guess, to be put into the what was the skulls group that they used to get
Skull and
together.
Bones.
Yeah, Skull and Bones.
Did he
And
go to Yale? Isn't that like a
I don't
Yale
know.
group?
But I'm just saying, like
Yeah.
how that
Oh, I get what
yeah,
the good old boys club,
what's
right?
the group that they used to go to, that place where Alex Jones like
Oh
stormed
yeah.
the
Well, there were a bunch of different, like the Illuminati, right? But
yeah,
there was a
yeah, right,
bunch of different politicians and people in power apparently
right.
that would go there, and I forget what the place is called, but yeah, they had some. And by the way, for being some spooky evil place, it was pretty corny. I saw
Yeah,
the video,
yeah, me too. Good
and
for
they
Alex
put on their
Jones.
little, yeah.
If he
They,
accomplished one thing, it was exposing that thing. Because I probably wouldn't have really paid much attention of it until Alex Jones went there and started yelling over the fence at those idiots with the robes on. trying
yeah, but I
to-
mean, what's the big deal? So what? Everybody gets drunk, and then you watch this stupid play
Yeah,
with these weird guys in
right,
robes. I mean,
right,
and, in front of a tree that's kind
right.
of owl shaped. I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, to me, that just seems ridiculous. Like, if I'm a billionaire, you think I want to go hang out in the woods and go watch these guys put on their little pageant in front of the tree?
No,
Give me a break.
no, man, no. But I've never bought into the whole thing that they were like controlling everything, and like,
Yeah.
and
Well,
even George
they could.
Soros to an extent. I'm sure that he definitely funds and plays a role in trying to get his agenda through. I get that, but the fact that he is the root of all evil, I think
Oh, it's
is
so melodramatic. Well, and I get it, and I get it. Who's the guy on the right, the Australian guy, that owns Fox, Murdoch?
Oh yeah, Rupert Murdoch.
And he's like the polar opposite, I guess, or
Hmm.
whatever. And it's like, okay, you guys. I mean, these are people who, yes, they're in positions of power. They have money. They're some of many others with money and power that like to
Right.
influence the world. Big effing deal. I just don't get how they're like these diabolical guys, and
Right,
it's like
right.
some big deal. And at the end of the day, these conspiracy theories are just, they're not really based on any solid evidence. It's
No,
just
no.
a bunch of I'm not saying every one of them, but many of them, much of what they consider to be, here's the evidence. It's just a
Right.
correlation. It's you have to believe so many for this to be true. It's like, okay, so what your claim is, this crazy ass claim, for that to be true, so many people would have to be in on this, and like it would have to
Right.
be like it's like it's just the anyway. I
Well, that was
whatever.
the whole problem I had with the 9/11 and
Oh God. Yeah.
that. Well, I
I
mean,
still don't. I still think it was just those idiots in the airplanes. I don't
yeah.
think 9/11 was the Jews. I don't think that it was us. I don't think it was the American government. I think that was the freaking terrorists.
Right.
And I think that, yeah, there were some aspects or some elements of our government that probably took advantage of the situation,
Or neglect.
you know,
Yeah,
or
neglect
neglect.
that led to it,
Oh
but
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Anyway,
But
I think that we're on the
but
same.
the fact
Yeah.
that they, that like one of the well the most in the United States, the most crowded building in the United States at all hours of the day was somehow planted with
Oh, I
explosive
know.
to coordinate, a perfect drop of both towers. Is just, come on.
And it wasn't perfect. And you know what? If you really look at look, and here's the problem: is you can always find some former engineer or some former PhD or some doctor. You can always find somebody and pull them out of the woodwork, and they're psycho, and they'll say whatever the hell you believe.
Right,
Basically, they
right,
believe it too.
right.
But that doesn't, so what? That's here's a few random, crazy doctors who have credentials still. And here's the vast majority.
Right,
Here's everybody else. And
right.
you're going to say, oh, no, the majority, they're all part of it. They're all part of the scheme and they're wrong. And it's just this guy, this outlier, that they know the secret. It's like, all right, you know,
Oh, George is a fun guy, isn't he? That's just half the show, so if you can't wait to hear the second half of our show, boy, tune in next week because it's a doozy. Me and George are just two guys just shooting the shit, just sharing our opinions with each other. Like I said, I've known George for years, and me and George see eye to eye on a lot of things. So thanks for tuning in to TriggerWarning.tv radio tonight, and I really appreciate you spending your time here with me. Hopefully, you enjoyed yourself. If you disagree with me or want to be a part of the show, like I said beginning, please feel free to contact me, Aphidlip on Twitter, or if you only caught parts of this or want to hear it again, who wouldn't? Please like and subscribe on YouTube, Aphidlip, Aphidlip, and get a hold of me. Let's discuss some things. Let's figure some things out. While you're over at triggerwarning.tv listening to this, check out what else there is to offer. There's plenty of stuff over there. Or watch the Trigger Warning podcast on Tuesday afternoons, usually afternoons over here in the US, but over there I think it's 10 p.m. UK time. And then Thursdays they usually have the Trigger Warning Big Show. They've been trying to get in the studio as of late, and that's also at 10 p.m. UK time. And then if you got nothing to do on Saturday night, oh man, what fun you'll have if you tune into the Trigger Warning YouTube channel and join Smoke Steve. The show usually goes for an hour and a half to sometimes I think one time it was 4 or 5 hours. Call into the show. I try to make a stop in there. As long as you have a camera and a microphone, they use StreamYard and you don't have to sign up or anything. You just click a button and you're in the show. A lot of fun. A lot of fun over there. And then go check out altfeed.org. Altfeed.org is a new website where they have a social platform where you can do your own blogs or basically do whatever you want. It's going to be something big. Get in there while it's hot. And then check out this show next week. Like I said, I really appreciate you spending your valuable time in these hard times and enjoying the Aphidlips Hodgepodge, the first inaugural Aphidlip Hodgepodge. You'll be able to tell everybody, hey, I heard this show the first night it was on the air, and people will respect you, and it'll be nice to talk about days of past and what fun we had here tonight. So until next week, this is Aphidlip signing out.